Let me talk to you about how to catch wahoo using live bait. Welcome to the Good Karma Sportfishing podcast. I'm your host, Captain Ryan Danfleet. Let's get into it. So I just finished the ultimate blog talking about how to catch wahoo using live bait and more. So let's dig into it right away. And I'm just going to go to the blog itself, walk you through it. It's going to be available for you guys to read at your leisure at goodkarmasportfishing.com. There's a ton of wahoo fishing information in there. And I also laced in a few little nuggets as well, like I always do. So let's get started right away. I'm going to pull up my shared screen here. And there we go. Okay. So, like I said, I've got goodkarmasportfishing.com. I've got the blog here, and it's just full of educational blogs because I really do love to write uh, educational fishing stuff, I guess you can say. So, in my words, okay? In my words and my thought process, which can be a little weird at times, but that just makes me who I am, and I'm very proud of that. So, let's walk through it. I've got, like I said, the 2025 Ultimate Guide to Wahoo Fishing with Live Bait is the title. And I just walk you through here. One thing I like to do as far as education goes is I really feel that people need to learn about the fish that they're targeting and learn everything about it. So what I did was I added a whole bunch of stuff in the blog as part of it. It's kind of like a two-part phase, I guess you can say, with the blog. So the first half of it's educational about the fish. Just a lot of different stuff in there I put in here because all fishermen that are very good, like a fisherman that's very good at targeting like one species knows everything about it. Okay. So for you guys that are new, just getting into fishing late in life, and you're watching all these YouTube videos, the my best piece of advice I can give you is to sit down and study the fish, learn everything about it, turn off YouTube, study scientific data, and read all this stuff and do everything you can to learn about the fish itself that you want to target. So let's move down here. So also, oh, cool. So I added this little video here. This was an awesome day. We were fishing off of Alligator Reef Light, and there was a sailfish tournament going on down off Alligator, and everybody was down in front of the tower with the kites out and stuff, which is cool. So I sat outside the kite fishermen that day, and we hammered the wahoo on live bait. So it was awesome. So it was just I had a north wind and man, they were just chewing and we had a great day. I think we caught like I think we were 2 for 4 within an hour and it got really rough out. As you can see in the video here when you play it, you can hear the wind howling in the background. So I had been trolling that morning, okay? I had been trolling because I had been having so much luck on trolling. And then when I came back from vacation, this was after January that we had a cold front move through, and I wasn't getting the bites that I wanted, and I had some live gogs, so I switched up and went to live bait fishing, and pow, we hammered them. So it was great. But that's what happens, I really don't like to wahoo fish for myself until it starts getting cold. So a lot of people book with me. They're like, when you go to live bait fish, can we see how you do it? And I was like, no, no. If you want to learn how to live bait fish, you got to come back in January. I'm not live bait fishing right now for wahoo. I'm 100% trolling now. It's just I draw the line at the time. It's just who I am and how I do things. Just because somebody else is doing something doesn't mean I want to I do not care what that other guy's doing. I do what feels right for me. And I have my best luck this time of year just doing some trolling. And then I like to switch over to live bait when it starts getting cold. So um and live baiting is takes a lot of patience and it's a ton of work. So which is awesome. It's a lot of fun to do. Uh I've got a lot of new tricks this year that have been that are working very well for live bait. That is going to work very well for live bait fishing. So, not going to cover those in this podcast. If you want to learn about that stuff, you got to be part of one of my private communities. So, let's move down here. So, I got all about Wahoo. So, anyways, you can cover. I go through and I cover all about like what I'm going to talk about in the blog. Then I've got Wahoo, some fun facts here. Just stuff about the fish itself, the science of the fish. And then I go through, I talk about some tagging programs that are out there, data about, then one thing, Wahoo, some people have asked me, what temperatures Wahoo like. I don't know. These are just things that tagging studies just show the data. So 63 to 81.5. I don't know. So there you go. It's all data. I take data like, I don't know. I just look at it and say, hey, it's data. There's no real, just look at data as data, okay? There's nothing written in stone when it comes to fishing, that's for sure. So those days I call pink sock days. They eat anything. So I control a chicken bone behind the boat and the Wahoo will eat it. I can paint it pink and the damn bone will get crushed. So I call that the midnight meat rig. So another record, you can see the transitions and stuff. So it's just cool. So I just went over and I basically went through some tagging studies, summarized it. The largest Wahoo state record, I don't know. There was one reported that was 202 pounds that a charter took turns on, so it wasn't a reported like record, but I don't know. There's a lot of like I see a lot of stuff about that one on the internet. So big fish, whatever. But I've seen some massive ones caught all over the world. The Florida state record is still 139 pounds. The Florida state record Wahoo is still 139 pounds caught off marathon. Supposedly, that's what I read. Yeah, but I'm sure there's been some bigger ones caught since then. What we got? Best times of the year for wahoo fishing. I walk you through my favorite times to use live bait. So in here, I go through the advantages of using live bait, and there are so many advantages. Okay, so many advantages. And I was when I first started, I trolled for several years, and I have to tell you guys, you need to learn how to live bait fish. Okay, especially when it starts getting cooler. It is not summer, and we do live in Florida. And like I said, the fish know when to change over from like trolled baits to live baits. And I got a feeling that this winter might be one of those winters because there's no El Nino and there's no La Nina. So it's gonna we're looking back like almost 7 years now to when we haven't seen any sort of shifts like this, any sort of El Nino or La Nina. So I'm looking back into my logbook 7, 8 years now to see how things were back then when we didn't have a La Nina or El Nino. So, and that's how I will approach the season. And that's how I'm approaching this season now. And I'm like having an amazing Wahoo season so far, as well as we're just destroying the mutton snappers. And I go through the science of live bait fishing, which is very cool. I talk about like the optical illusions of how things look bigger under the water, hence why you need to look at like downsizing your terminal tackle. Um, I get a lot of questions about live bait, so bonitos are obviously the one of the best baits to use. It's very popular now since it hit YouTube, but I have to say people have been using bonitos in the Florida Keys for several years, long before YouTube came about. They are a great bait to use. They'll win a Wahoo tournament with ease, especially down here. It says your biggest Wahoo come off of live baits. So if you're looking to win a Wahoo tournament down here, you better come down here and like get yourself loaded up with big bonitos and and sit and wait for one to eat. Find some good water, do what you got to do, and you will get your shot at winning. And I would honestly, I would break it up. If you're Wahoo tournament fishing, spend some time trolling, and once that kind of slows down, and get those damn bonitos out, and then watch what happens. Speedos, obviously speedos, but if you're looking for a big Wahoo, bonito, okay, bonito or blackfin tunas. Blackfin tunas are the Wahoo delicacy. They like those more than bonitos, just FYI. I talk about handling live bait. Listen, there's just a lot of stuff out there about handling live bait, and I have to tell you, I do the best I can with what I have to work with. And a lot of guys are very particular about it. All I have to say is you got to treat your live bait with respect, treat it nicely, don't beat it up, use a good net, reduce handling, keep good water flow. I have a smaller well, but when I'm using goggle eyes, I have two pumps running to that well, and I've got a lot of flow going through there. And I'll also take a hose and I'll put a hose on top and I'll run a light spray on the top sometimes. It's just I want them very active as well. So that's just a little bit about what I do. to keep my baits nice. And I have a smaller one. Don't overload your well. Don't overload your well. Okay. That's all I'm going to say on that one. You can make ship the well. You can make one. There's so many different YouTube videos out there. Guys use big garbage cans for speedos. That's what I would recommend if you're going to use speedos. You take a big garbage can and make yourself a big live well. So that's a lot of water sloshing around. Just FYI. I talk about satfish, of course. You got to find the clean water and you got to find the current. Satfish tells you where it's at. If the conditions hold together for 3 days, you got yourself some epic wahoo fishing. Stabilized conditions coming off a front. You want the water to stabilize, fish move in. Conditions hold for 3 to 4 days. If it holds longer, the bait comes together and you got yourself some epic fishing. Also, too, you're looking for the migration of flying fish and some previous in a previous blog, I talk about the migrations of flying fish and when they happen, so you can go through and check that out, and you can kind of plan accordingly. Now, this is the second part of the blog. I get into the power of titanium rigs for fishing. Titanium is where it's at, guys. I would honestly look at making all your stinger rigs using titanium. Now, if you cannot afford time to or if you're struggling with titanium, the best thing you can do is I show you is to call these guys. Okay. Call these guys. Call, and I put it in my blog for you. It's called How You Reel and Tackle. These guys are the best. They make the best rigs probably in the country. They are This is where I buy my rigs when I need to buy rigs when I get in a pinch. Okay. I prefer to make my own rigs because it's just, for me, I have that's what I like to do. But I know a lot of guys are very busy. They lead very busy lives. They're traveling for work. They have kids. I totally get that. Okay. And your time at home is precious. Your wife wants you to be with the kids, so I totally get that. I totally get that. You got to take your kids to travel ball. You got to do all this stuff now. So I totally get that. So I would honestly, give these guys a call at How You Reelin' Tackle. They are a small shop, so I don't know their hours, and they prefer and then their online ordering. You call them and you order personally. It looks like so. That's which I feel is amazing. Their customer service is great. These guys, as far as education goes, you're going to get some amazing education on these rigs and how to catch fish. So give them a call. And I put the information in there. And also, too, you can follow them on their Instagram page, How You Reelin'. Okay, so let's go back up there. That's my recommendation. But if you really want to make your own, then I walk you through a lot of tips on making your own stuff. And I'm also going to be covering this stuff in the Good Karma rigging crew here over the course of the winter time. Okay. The live bait fishing for Wahoo, that's part of my educational program. As far as in the Good Karma Fishing Club and in the Good Karma rigging crew, we cover that. We're going to be covering that as far as the video goes. And those guys my videos are just more than just like showing you how to do something. I walk you through the educational parts, and then I always like to lace in some nuggets for folks. So it's just how it works. So I walk you through the science of the components of the stinger rig. I talk to you about the swivels that I use. Also, too, I walk you through the titanium leader. Guys, there's a lot of videos out there about crimping, okay? Like crimps and titanium, there's so much that can go wrong when it comes to what's the word for it? Um, the tolerances, okay, when it comes to crimping and crimping titanium. I do not recommend that, honestly. There's a lot of videos out there. I don't recommend that you crimp. Okay. I'm going to say it. And it's going to piss a lot of guys off because crimping's easy. Okay. Crimping's easy. And a lot of people they don't have the confidence in tying the knot of the titanium. But I have to tell you what, the tournament guys are a lot of the tournament guys the kingfish guys are not crimping. Okay. They're not. They tie. All my wahoo that I've caught on my titanium rigs that I've showed you have all been tied with a clinch knot. Okay. Crimps are the easy way out. And I'm not saying they're bad, so don't get me wrong. So, however you want to do it, and you'll say, "Oh, I've caught this wahoo and that wahoo on crimps," but I've also seen a lot and heard a lot, and I hear a lot, and guys call me and text me, "Oh, my crimp failed, my crimp failed, my crimp failed, my crimp failed." So when I hear that 10 guys are having their crimps fail and they're good fishermen, that tells you the statistics of how many other guys are having their crimps break. Learn how to tie the titanium. Okay, take the time. It is easy to do, and once you like, it's all about the confidence level, and that's what fishing is confidence levels. Okay, that's it. It's all part of the big picture. So we walk you through the Stinger rig, why I like the AFW Mighty Minis. They have a matte finish. I used to take my Spro swivels, and I talked about this in the blog, and I used to take an emery cloth, and I used to like try to knock off the shine of those swivels because the damn kingfish, excuse me, would always eat the swivels. It was like, oh, but when I switched over to the Mighty Minis, oh man, it's like my life got a lot better. So, and also too, I do feel that a Wahoo will like everybody says, well, they're attracted to the shine, but yes, they're attracted to the shine, but also too, they're turned off by unnatural shine. Okay, so that's just that's how it works. That's how science works of fishing. So I talked about the titanium. They've got a matte finish. I have to tell you the difference, man, because I've trolled number 7 and number 5 wire side by side, and I've switched sides, switched lures. And I have to tell you what the titanium gets bit. It does. The titanium gets bit. And if you want to learn how I tie that titanium, I do have that video available in the rigging crew. So that's the type of stuff that I'm showing them how to make the leaders for my Wahoo. And then you can join the rigging crew and you'll have that video available for you to look at. Or you can buy the course. I have a course out there for that. It's called the Ballyhoo three-way. Okay. Um, Talk about that titanium leader link. Now there's a lot of tricks to tying titanium. I talked to you guys about my titanium links, and this is pretty much the industry standard as far as making rigs. And now one thing I like to do is I do get a little shorter than I probably should, and I used to make like 12 inch, like 12 to 6 inch rigs, and I caught plenty of wahoo on them, but I also have lost plenty of wahoo with them because they roll over on them, the gill cut the line, they eat the whole rig. So I have had to go out over the course of the years. And then have I seen a difference in the bites? And yes, I have. Yes, I have. I would prefer not to use wire if I don't have to. And I've caught plenty of wahoo on just regular fluorocarbon using big hooks. What I do is I hook the bait through the nose using big circle hooks, like a big number 9. Like I've got plenty of videos out there showing that, how I've caught them on that. You can also hook them through the back. I don't know. But I've also lost so many wahoo on circle hooks. So there's just a lot to it. But anyhow, so I do go through and I tell you how I cut my wire and the standards. And I cut so many different sizes and I go crazy doing it, but that's what I like to do. I like to make rigs. I like to experiment. Um, some experiments work very well. I don't experiment with on clients. I before anything gets put into play on my charters, I have to like validate it that it works more than like 5 to 10 times. Okay. I never try anything new on a trip unless I know that it's been validated to work. So, and so just FYI. I go through, I show you the knot right here. I just use the knot that's on the package. Okay. But I give you a few little tips that I've learned over the years from and then I go through and I tell you how to tie the leader, you know, all that fun stuff. I tell you what my hook recommendation is. The standard hook I use is that Mustad 9174. I've used some big gun hooks over the years. I don't like to use offsets because they do wrap into the fish. A lot of guys are going to tell you that. One thing I like to do is I put a cable tie on the rig itself, and that helps it from rolling back in and creates a stiff rig. So I show you that right here in this little video here. You can go through the video here. I have it. It's an old school video that I put out there years ago. And what happened was I put it out there, then it started showing up on other YouTube channels. So I just quit talking about it because it was getting knocked off. So I was like, whatever. So I just kind of quit talking about it. So anyhow, so I still use this to this day. And what that does, it creates a stiff rig on there. You can see at the end here, I'll show you. You can see how I catch that most of the wahoo you catch are on the stinger rigs. And this is the wahoo that we caught. Usually they get snared in the gills someplace, and you can see that, or it gets caught right along the side. The little stingers are the way to go. And the J hook really doesn't do much. Honestly, I've never caught a wahoo with like a stinger rig J hook in his mouth. It's always been the treble. So, the J hook acts as a carrier, really. It's a carrier bait carrier. It's just a so I don't spend a lot of money on hooks, really, when that John J hooks. But as far as the trebles go, those little mustads are really good hooks. See if I can find you I use them. I also go through and tell you what, sorry, I'm scrolling up really fast here. What little mustad hooks I use. I also use that I didn't include it in here, but I like to use those. There's little eagle claw hooks that I like that are really good. Those are great. But I like to use these mustad 3599 C's, black nickels, and I like to use the black colored hooks. It's just me. But the Eagle Claw makes a really sticky hook as well for that works really good. It's brown in color, great hook. So I didn't include that in the blog, but you guys can Google it. That's something I'll talk about in the rigging crew as well later down the road as we get into the deep winter months. Deep winter. Winter is coming. Gosh. Oh boy. Okay, the art of making the stinger. I give you some little tips here. One of the oldest tricks I've learned is like I honestly I like to get that circle just right on my hook on the when I connect my stinger wire to the J. So I've always used a straw. You can use a little dowry stick or whatever. I don't care. But a little straw has always been what I use to get that perfect little circle. It really helps. And honestly, I still do that to this day. I have no shame in saying that I still use tools because it's just the days of like, what's the word for it? The days of like, oh, you got to do it the hard way and all this stuff. And like, oh, back in like, we used to walk 10 miles in the snow and you used to wrap wire and you should learn how to wrap wire and not reel down to the fish. Those days are like, hey, listen, man, I'm all about like efficiency and safety and making things work for myself. And don't let anybody try to put you down because you're using a tool to tie a haywire twist, or you are using a tool to do this, or you don't know something. Don't let somebody try to put you down because really it's just their own insecurities, okay? And they're jealous. So, um, I am okay with using a tool to make a haywire twist. That's it. I use a big scourge of the sea. It's awesome. I do it with my hands, but I got to be honest with you. After working 10 to 15 days in a row, my hands are on the wheel and I get a little bit of claw in my hands. Just the older I get, and I take care of myself very well. But I like to like having when you're trying to tie stingers at night after you're trying to get caught up, having a tool definitely will help. Okay. So don't try to kill yourself because you're looking for a pat on the back from somebody that, like, nice job on doing it the hard way. Don't listen to any of those guys, man. Just do it your own way. You figure out something that works for you, just nod and smile. Just nod and smile. Just like the guy that tells you he's got a technique dialed in and doesn't need to learn anything else. Just nod and smile and say, send him some love. Okay. So we talk about treble hook placement. So important. So important. And I like to hook my treble hooks more towards the bottom. And honestly, I was like, until you see your first fish actually skyrocket out of the water, you're not a believer. But when you start placing your hooks on the bottom, these fish, like the speed at which they hit is crazy. Okay. They launch themselves from the bottom to eat. Okay. So I was very fortunate enough to still retain this video. I'm going to play it for you. And this shows you, this is a CUDA eating. And what was happening on this day was I had some guys that had a new GoPro and they wanted to like check out this bonito they had in the water and like so they could, have a video underwater and see if their GoPro worked. And I was fortunate enough to capture this on this video. So check it out. Okay. So that is a giant barracuda that launched, that was in like 200 some odd feet of water. And that barracuda launched itself up. And that's how kingfish launch. They will launch, the wahoos will launch like a torpedo. They'll come across the spread. They are insane. But having those hooks down at the bottom of more towards the belly of the bait, that's where you want to have your trebles. Okay. So you can come back through my blog, you can read this. And then I talk about the placement. And I also use on the stinger, I use hardwire, I use number 7 wire, number 8 actually. Number 7 or number 8 camo AFW wire is the absolute best. You can also, like I said, some guys like to use the AFW like bright wire because it matches depending on what color bait you're using, it matches up with the lateral line. So if you're using a silver color bait, then you might want to use the AFW silver wire or silver bright wire versus the camouflage wire. But if I'm using a darker color bait, I like to use the like if I'm using a green colored bait like a gog or a speedo, I'll use the camouflage color. So it's all mental. It's all mental. Hey, do whatever you want, man. Do whatever you want. I just do whatever. I just do whatever I'm gonna have the most confidence in. If something isn't working, you gotta change it. Okay. I talk about like the placements of the stingers, adding two, give you some tips there. What else I got? Make sure I cover that for you. I give you some advice on making the haywire twist. There's so many videos out there. Like I said, if you want to see how I do it, I'll be eventually putting up a video in the Good Karma rigging crew, as well as how I hook the live baits and send them down. I'll be doing some videos on on how I use them on the flat lines and get a bait deep as well. Some different tricks that I use for that. So I started, like I said, I like to use downriggers for my live baits, and sometimes I don't, just depends. I don't like to have a lot of hardware in the water. So then I'll switch it up and do other stuff to get a bait deep. Anyhow, change up the leaders, and I'm always changing, always changing. Nothing's ever the same. So, yeah, so I walk you through some tips on how to tie that titanium. Practice, practice, practice. Get yourself some 40 to 50 pound titanium and start tying. And then test it. Like beat the shit out of it. Like, yeah, it's going to cost you money, but fishing, it's going to save you like so much money in the water by buying like go and buy like a $20 pack of titanium, okay? And then stretch it and practice. If you're not breaks or comes loose, then you do it again. You do it again. You're doing something wrong, okay? And then just keep doing it until you're right, till you get it right. You figure out a system at home to test the wire. You can like use a nail or make yourself a testing board. Figure it out. Everybody's got a man cave nowadays. I've got a little office here and all my shit's back here. So, but this is like my little hiding spot. And Melinda's like, "Oh, you're back there hiding from me." I was like, "Yep, I am." Okay. So I've got that, and then like I said, as far as buying live bait rigs, these are the guys that I recommend. They are so educational. They've helped a lot of guys out over the years, and they're a tournament winning team that always puts money up, always in the money. How you reeling? And then we've got something new for 2025. We just launched it today, and it's the new Patreon site that I have. Okay. So if you're looking to, like, I do talk about it in here. So if you're looking to take your bottom and trolling fishing to the next level, join us on Patreon. I've got a new site. It's www.patreon/Good Karma Sport Fishing. So you go to the Patreon, patreon.com, and just enter Good Karma as in the creator section, find it, and then get signed up. We just finished it today, okay? And today is Monday, the Monday after Thanksgiving. And what we're going to be doing is it is the best of Good Karma Sport Fishing. I have created over 6 years of content, and we're going to continue on. And within the Patreon group, this is going to be the best of. And I'm also going to have insider tips, private fishing reports, some more stuff that I'm working on, to where it's just like I don't want to say, because there's just a lot of the copycat syndrome going on out there. So I'm going to I've got some other stuff. Let's just say I call it stuff. So whether you're a seasoned angler or you're just starting out, get involved with us today. Now I am getting ready to move off of Facebook to get to Patreon, because I feel that Patreon is a great place to put really good content. So I can create some different types of stuff. I can keep it all there. And I'm not a huge fan of Facebook, to be honest with you. So I'm looking forward to reaching a different audience and getting guys involved that don't like Facebook. So, and that's part of the reason why I don't have a private Facebook group. So again, you can go there today after you read the blog, get signed up. You can see what we got going on. I got a couple different levels in there. You can learn about it. I will actually going to show you the Patreon site right now on the shared screen, and there you go. So Patreon, Good Karma Sport Fishing. And then I've got two different tiers here. I've got a $5 and a $25 for rigging crew. And then I've got some featured products there. And then we're going to be adding a whole bunch of other stuff. I got all my freebies there that you can sign up for. Shark knowledge. I've got some my satfish stuff here that you can I'll be putting all that stuff into one area. So you've got the collections, best satfish tips, best grouper tips, fishing tips PDF. We're going to be putting stuff in here. You can just go there and and I'll be putting some things in there. Like you can join for free here. Super excited about that. Grouper, be doing that by species. So I'm super excited about this. So I've been wanting to do something like this for a long time. So I woke up in the middle of the night and said we're doing it. So, but okay. Well, guys, that's all I got. Now, if you're looking to book a trip with me, I've got availability for December and January. You can email me at goodkarmaryan@gmail.com. And you can check out my website for information. What we're going to be targeting just depends on what's biting. But you guys know what I like to target. So, and most of you guys like to target that stuff too. Okay. Now, or you can follow me on Instagram. I'm very like behind on my fishing reports on Instagram. So we've had some amazing fishing. So you can follow me at Good Karma Sport Fishing _FL_keys on Instagram, and I'll be posting what we've been catching. But I'm super behind. I'm at least 2 weeks behind as far as my posting goes. And now we're just starting to get caught up because my charters come first. Okay. I work really long days and there's a lot to my charters. So more so than I even want to expand on. So the guys that fish with me know. But yeah, that's all I got, guys. Stay tuned for the next video here. I don't know when that's going to be, probably next week, more than likely. And remember, anytime you're fishing, it's all good.